Hi everyone, welcome to My Max Academy. In this session, we will continue with our chapter matrices, which is the third chapter from your 12th standard CBSE Mathematics. We will start with the section called Elementary Operations of a Matrix, or it is also called as Transformation of a Matrix. We have 6 operations or transformations which can be performed or which can be applied on a matrix. In the 6 operations, we have 3 row operations and we have 3 column operations. In total, there are 6 operations or transformation of a matrix. So these 6 operations we can apply on any matrix. Suppose if A is a matrix, I'm taking A, it can be any matrix. I'm just taking A as this matrix. Suppose if A is this matrix, I will teach you how to apply these 6 operations on A matrix. So the first operation is on the row part. The first operation on the row is interchange of any 2 rows. Interchange of any 2 rows, which means we can interchange any 2 rows of a matrix. In symbolically, it is denoted as Ri, Rj, if and only if, which means both the sides arrow, Ri and Rj are interchanged. So in particular, this is in general, Ri and Rj are interchanged. In particular, we can apply, suppose we can interchange R2 implies R3, suppose R2 and R3. So meaning of this is I am going to interchange my R2 and R3 of this matrix. So I will get another matrix which I call it as A1. That matrix is written by interchanging the row 2 and row 3. So this is your R1, this is your R2, this is your R3. Row 1, row 2, row 3. And I'm going to interchange row 2 and row 3. That is the first operation on row. So which means these 2 rows are going to be interchanged. So there is no change in the first row. 1 minus 1, 3. The second row and third row are going to get interchanged. So this will become 2 minus 3, 4, which means the third row becomes second row, then second row becomes third row. 4, 5, 0. So if you apply this operation on the matrix A, it becomes another matrix. I'm just calling that matrix as A1. Fine. So this is the first operation on row, which means you can interchange any 2 rows of a matrix. Obviously, when you interchange, then it will become another matrix. It cannot be same as this. So A and A1 are 2 different matrices. It will become a different matrix. Only thing is we have applied this operation on A and we have got another matrix A1. Then we have the second operation on the rows again. That is multiplication of an element of a row or a column by a non-zero number. Multiplication of the elements of any row by a non-zero number, by a non-zero number. So what it means is we can multiply elements of any row. Multiplication of the elements of any row. Multiplication of the elements of any row by a non-zero number, which means all the elements of a particular row can be multiplied by some number. Right? So symbolically, we denote that as Ri implies only one way is k times Ri. Ri implies k times Ri, which means I am going to multiply the Ri row with the non-zero number k. Here k is not equal to 0. K should not be equal to 0. We are going to multiply each element of Ri. Ri is any row. It can be row 1, row 2, row 3, any one of the rows is multiplied by the constant k. So suppose in particular if we try to apply, I'm writing the extension here. If we apply, suppose if I am going to say R2 implies minus 3 times R2, right? So the same operation, I am taking R2 implies K is minus 3 here. K is minus 3 here. So R2 implies minus 3 times R2. You can say R1 implies minus 3 times R1 or R1 implies 5 times R1, anything. But both have to be R2. These are all to R2, which means each element of R2 we are going to multiply by minus 3. So I am going to take the same matrix A. I am not going to apply on this operation. I am going to apply on this matrix, same A. So if this operation is applied on this, my A matrix will become A2. So my R1 there is no change, 1 minus 1 3, and my R2 each element should be multiplied by minus 3. So 4 times minus 3 is minus 12. 5 times minus 3 is minus 15. 0 times minus 3 is 0. Then there is no change to the third row. I write this as it is. So I am applying this operation on this matrix, not on this matrix. When all the 6 operations that I am going to explain, we will be applying on only this matrix. Fine. So this is the second operation, row operation, which can be applied on a matrix. Now the third operation is addition to the elements of any row, the corresponding elements of any other row. The corresponding elements of any other row multiplied by any non-zero number. Multiplied by any non-zero number. This is the third operations that we have on the row. Addition to the elements of any row or column they have given in the book. We will do again the similar 3 set of operations will come for column, that I will explain you when we do the column. Right? Addition to the elements of any row, the corresponding elements of any other row multiplied by non-zero number. So symbolically we will mention it as Ri implies Ri plus K times Rj. So we are going to addition of the elements of any row with the corresponding elements of another row Rj multiplied by a non-zero number K. This is the third operation, third row operation. Suppose in particular, if I want to apply this operation, suppose if I say R1 implies R1 plus, we can put minus also, doesn't matter, plus 2 times R3. So R1 implies, so these two have to be same. If this is R1, this has to be R1. This is Rj, which means it should be different from this. So these two have to be same row. R1 means this also should be R1. If this is R2, then this also should be R2. This can be anything. So R1 implies R1 plus 2 times, I have to do some other row. I can put R2 also or R3 also. So R1 implies R1 plus 2 times R3. So now if you apply this row operations on this matrix A, then what do we get is my A3, that matrix will become A3. So R1, this is your R1. Probably I'll write the R2 and R3 because there is no change to R2 and R3. So row 2 I'm writing now. So which is 4, 5 and 0. Then 2 minus 3, 4. So I'm writing, I have written the R2 and R3 here because only R1 is getting changed. R1 implies R1 plus 2 times R3 means your row 1 is getting changed. So here also row 2 is getting changed. Row 1 and row 3, no changes. So here if you see, your R1 and R2 and R3 are swapped, interchanged, right? So now let's apply this. R1 implies R1 plus 2 times R3 means I have to take this element, the first element in the R1. This is R1. 1 plus 2 times the corresponding element in R3 multiplied with 2. So this 2. 2 into this 2. So 1 plus 2 times 2. This is R1, which is 1, and R3 is 2. If you substitute R1 as 1 and R3 as 2 here, 1 and 2, you'll get 1 plus 2 into 2, which is 5. Then take this element, minus 1 plus 2 times minus 3. So minus 1, so your R1 is minus 1. Here you have to substitute, don't substitute here. You have to substitute on the right side. Minus 1 plus 2 times R3. R3 is minus 3. So minus 1 plus 2 times minus 3 will give you minus 7. Then this element, so 3 plus 2 times 4. So this is your R1, this is your R3. So 3 plus 2 times R3 means 2 times 4. So 3 plus 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So this is the new matrix which is formed by applying this operations row 1. This is in general. In particular, I am putting some value. R1 implies R1 plus 2 times R3. Then this matrix gets transformed to this matrix. So all the 3 operations I have applied on this matrix. Clear? So this is about the 3 elementary row operations or transformation of a matrix. Right? So all of you can pause the video and take the notes. Then similarly, I will explain you the 3 operations that we have for column. Right? I will change little bit. Right? Now we are going to change this as column. Column operation. First operation is interchange of any 2 columns. So in symbol, we will write it as Ci implies Cj. So which means in particular, here we can use anything. So I can say C1 is interchanged with C3. C1 is interchanged with C3, which means we are going to swap C1 and C3. So which means, so your C1 is this column 1, column 2, column 3. C1, C2, this is column 1, column 2, column 3. So if I apply this, then our matrix A will become, your column 1 and column 3 will get interchanged. Column 2 there is no change. I will write the column 2 as it is, minus 1, 5, minus 3. Then here 3, 0, 4. Because column 3 has come to column 1 and column will go to column 3. 1, 4, 2. 1, 4, 2. Right? So we have applied this operation on this matrix and we got this. Wherein we interchanged, we moved C3 to here and C1 has come here. 1, 4, 2 which is C1 and C3 has moved to the position of C1. So because we have applied this column operation on this matrix and we got this matrix. So I'll call this as probably A4. Right? Because we had A3, so I'm just continuing. So A4. And then the second operation on the column is multiplication of a row, multiplication of the elements of any column by non-zero number. So symbolically we will say Ci implies k times Cj. Ci implies k times Cj. So we can say here we can probably apply, we can say C3 implies, we can even put any fraction. Only thing is k should not be 0. So I can put probably 4 times C3. C3 implies 4 times C3. Then I'm going to apply this column operation on the same matrix A here. So my A matrix will become A5 matrix. Suppose just a number A5, another matrix. So in that column 3 is getting changed. There is no change to column 1 and column 2. Let's write the things which don't change. 1. So I'm writing the column 1 as it is. See, remember I'm going to apply this operation on this matrix, not on this matrix. You can apply on this also. Then this should be treated as C1, C2, C3 and you can apply where each element of this will be divided by 3. But I'm going to apply all the operations on this matrix. Fine. So so 1, 4, 2 and your C2 is minus 1, 5 and minus 3. C3 is each element is multiplied by 4. C3 each element is multiplied. So 3 times 4. This is your C3. All the elements of C3, each element will be multiplied. So 4 times 3 is 12. Then 4 times 0 is 0. Then 4 times 4 is 16. So this is your matrix which we got by applying this column operation on this matrix A. And the new matrix that is formed, I am calling it as A5, some other name. Right? Now the third one is addition of elements of any column. Any column, the corresponding elements of any other column multiplied by any non-zero number. So symbolically, in symbol, we'll write Ci implies Ci plus k times Cj. K times Cj. So what we can do here, suppose if you want to say, we can say C3 has changed, we can choose anything. I can say C2 implies C2 minus 2 times C3. I can apply C1 implies, C2 implies C2 minus 2 times C3. See, remember always these two have to be same. If I put C2 here, I should put C2 here also. And there should not be any number multiplied here. So C2 means it should be C2. Then here minus or plus, it doesn't matter because K is minus 2 here. K is minus 2. So don't think here it is plus, why it is minus. So here K is minus 2. Then it will become plus K means K is minus 2 means it will become minus 2 of Cj. It can be any other row other than this. I can put either C1 or C3. Anything is fine. So if you apply this operation on A, then I'll get A6 matrix. Right? So I'm going to apply this column operation on the same A matrix. So my column C1 there is no change, which is 1, 4, 2, and C2 we will apply. C3 I will write, there is no change to C3, 3, 0, 4. Now let's apply. C2 implies C2 minus 2 times C3. So C2 is this, minus 1, and your C3 is 3, 3. So substitute C2 as minus 1 and C3 as 3 in this. Then you get minus 1 minus 2 times 3. So minus 1 minus 2 times 3 gives me minus 7. Right? Minus 1 minus 2 times C3. C3 is 3. So minus 2 into 3 is minus 6. Minus 6 minus 1 is minus 7. Then again take 5. Your C2 is 5 now. 5 minus 2 times C3. C3 is 0. So 5 minus 2 times 0 is 5. Now take minus 3. So minus 3, that is your C2, minus 2 times 4. Minus 2 times 4 is minus 8. Minus 8 minus 3 is minus 11. So I am substituting C2 as minus 3 and C3 as 4 in this. So if I put C2 as minus 3, I'll get minus 3 minus 2 into 4. Minus 3 minus 2 into 4. Minus 2 into 4 is minus 8. Minus 8 minus 3 is minus 11. So this is your the transformed matrix or the changed matrix. So when you apply this operation C2 plus C2 minus 2 times C3 on the matrix A, you get another matrix. I call that matrix as A6. Fine. So these are the three operations that we have on for the column. So these are the three operations or transformations that we have for column. So we saw 3 for rows, and then now this is 3 for columns. Totally 6 elementary operations or transformation that can be applied on a matrix or that can be performed on a matrix. And we'll use these elementary operations, either row operations or column operations. We will use this to find the inverse of a matrix. So next section is about inverse of the matrix. I'll tell you what is inverse of the matrix and then we'll move on. You can take the notes, pause the video and take the notes. Yeah, I will erase this and we can go to the next section, which is invertible matrices. Next session is invertible matrices. I am at page number 91. So this elementary row and operations was in page number 90. So these things are in page number 90 of your textbook. This is page number 91. Page number 91, which is invertible matrices. Invertible matrices. Invertible matrices. So there's a definition 6 which we will do. If A is a square matrix, so definition is for an invertible matrices, if A is a square matrix of order m, if A is a square matrix of order m, and if there exists another square matrix B of the same order m, of the same order m, such that A into B is equal to B into A is equal to I, where I is the identity matrix. Then the matrix B is called inverse of A. Then the matrix B is called inverse of matrix A. And in general, we denote B will be equal to A inverse. So inverse, this is a symbol to denote A inverse. So inverse of A is B. Or even we call A also as inverse of B, or B as inverse of A. Right? So in this case, we call A as an invertible matrix. A matrix which has an inverse is called as an invertible matrix. A matrix which has an inverse is called as an invertible matrix. Right? So this is definition of an inverse of matrix. This is a definition for inverse of a matrix. Inverse of a matrix. Matrix A, if A is a square matrix of order m, and if there exists another square matrix B of same order m, such that AB into BA is equal to I, where I is the identity matrix, then the matrix B is called as inverse of A, and we denote it as B is equal to A inverse. B is equal to A inverse, and in this case we call the matrix A as an invertible matrix, which means any matrix which has an inverse is called as an invertible matrix. Now I will give you one example to understand this definition. So suppose I'm going to the same example given in the book. Matrix A is 2, 3, 1, 2. 2, 3, 1, 2. So it has to be a square matrix. That is very important. Only square matrices we can try to find the inverse. Only square matrices will be invertible. In non-square matrices, there is no concept of inverse. So which means it's a square matrix of order 2. Then suppose if I take B as 2, minus 3, minus 1, 2. Now let's try to multiply these two matrices. What is AB? A will be 2, 3, 1, 2 multiplied with 2 minus 3 minus 1, 2. So if you multiply this, so what do we get? 2 into 2, 4, plus 3 into minus 1. You'll get 2 2s are 4, 3 into minus 1 is minus 3, then 2 into minus 3 is minus 6, 3 into 2 is plus 6, then 1 into 2 is 2, 2 into minus 1 is minus 2, then 1 into minus 3 is minus 3, 2 into 2 is plus 4. So if you simplify, you get 4 minus 3 is 1, 0, 0, 1, which is equal to your I matrix. So we got AB is equal to I. When I multiply A and B, I got the unit matrix 1, 0, 0, 1. This is called as unit matrix or identity matrix. Also, we should try to check BA, because matrix multiplication is not commutative. So if you find BA, multiply B into A. B matrix is 2 minus 3 minus 1 2 into A matrix. A matrix is 2 3 1 2. Now when you multiply, so 2 into 2 4, then minus 3 into 1 is minus 3, then again 2 into 3 is 6, then minus 3 into 2 is minus 6, right? We do with the row first column, you get this, then first row second column will give you this, then second row first column. So minus 1 into 2 is minus 2, plus 2 into 1 is 2, minus 1 into 3 is minus 3, plus 2 into 2 is 4. You get again 1 0 0 1. So your BA also is equal to I matrix. Your BA is also I matrix. Fine. So what it means is, we got AB is equal to BA. Both are equal to the identity matrix I. So therefore we can say, therefore B is the inverse of matrix A. Inverse of A matrix. Or we can say symbolically B is equal to A inverse. So this matrix B is the inverse of A. We can even say vice versa. We can even say A is the inverse of B. The same argument, same definition if you apply, we can even call A is the inverse of B. We can even call A is equal to B inverse. A equal to B inverse, right? If one is the inverse of other, then vice versa is also true. The other is the inverse of the original matrix. Fine. So this is about inverse of the matrix, and we will be using the elementary row and column operations to find the inverse of a matrix. That you can watch my next video for finding the inverse of a matrix using elementary row or column operations. Now this is the definition of an inverse of a matrix, and this is an example for that. Right? There are two matrices, so B is called inverse of A. You can even call A is the inverse of B. Doesn't matter. As long as this condition is satisfied, then you can call one is the inverse of other. One matrix is the inverse of other, and vice versa. Fine. Now all of you can pause the video and take the notes. I'll go to the next section, which is uniqueness of inverse. Next section is uniqueness of inverse, theorem 3, right, which is in page number 92. Oh, sorry, 91 only. Still we have 90. Uniqueness. Uniqueness of inverse. So uniqueness of inverse. So what it means is, if suppose A is a matrix, and if there is another matrix B such that B is also of same order as A, and AB is equal to B, A is equal to I, then we call B as the inverse of A. Then we should show that a matrix A can have only one inverse, which is B. That is called as uniqueness of inverse. So any matrix, if it has an inverse, then that inverse is unique, which means that matrix can have, any matrix, if it has inverse, it can have only one inverse. One matrix cannot have two inverses. One matrix, it should be a square matrix obviously. So a square matrix cannot have two different inverses. Inverse of a square matrix, if it exists, it's not like all the square matrices have inverse. There are square matrices which do not have inverse. That's why I'll teach you that condition also, where there is a square matrix but it will not have inverse. But certain square matrices have inverse. Suppose if A is a square matrix and if it has inverse, then we have to show that that inverse is unique, which means matrix A cannot have two inverses. Matrix A cannot have two inverse. Now we have to prove this, that a matrix A, any square matrix will have only one inverse. We have to prove this. That is a theorem. That is called as uniqueness of inverse. So we not show. Suppose we'll say solution or proof. Okay, so proof for this theorem is, we'll say let A be any square matrix. Let A be any square matrix. Now we should show that If A has an inverse, then that inverse is unique. That inverse is unique, which means it can have only, if A has inverse, then that it can have only one inverse. Right? Either it will have only one inverse or it will not have any inverse. Which means it cannot have two inverses. Suppose let A be any square matrix. Now we should show that A will have only one inverse. We'll assume that. Right? Let A be any square matrix. Let's assume that suppose A has two inverses. Suppose A has two inverses called B and C. Suppose A has two inverses B and C, which means B is inverse of A and C is also inverse of A. We are going to prove that A has only one inverse. So for that we will assume that A has two inverses. Then what happens? Suppose A has two inverses B and C, then since B is the inverse of A, I can write this AB equal to BA is equal to. So we have AB is equal to BA is equal to I, because B is the inverse of A. Again C is the inverse of A, so I can say same line. I can say A into C equal to C into A. A into C equal to C into A equal to I, because C is also inverse of A. Because C is also inverse of A. So I can say AC equal to CA is equal to I, because C is the inverse of A. Now we have these two equations or four equations, whatever. Now let's take what is B. Now what we are going to prove is, I am going to prove that the matrix B is equal to C, which means we are going to prove that matrix B and C are equal. If you prove B and C are equal, then it is unique inverse. A has only one inverse, which is only B, or you can already call that as a C, because both are the same matrix. Matrix A cannot have two different matrices as inverses, right? So now if we prove B equal to C, so we have assumed that A has two inverses, and down the line we will prove that B is equal to C. The moment we prove B is equal to C, which means it is not two inverses, it is one and the same. So then we will say that A has a unique inverse. So that ends the proof, right? So let's take the matrix B. Now B can be written as what? B into I. Any matrix B multiplied with the identity matrix, you will get back B. So your identity matrix, you should treat it as number 1, kind of. In mathematics, we can write 2 is equal to 2 into 1. 2 can be written as 2 into 1, because 2 into 1 is 2. In our normal multiplication, that there one is called as multiplicative identity. So here I is the multiplicative matrix multiplicative identity. So B is equal to B into I. I can write like this. Then that is equal to B into I can be written as A into C. Instead of I is what? A into C. I can also put C into A, but if you put this, we will be able to prove B equal to C. I can either put this or this, but this will make more sense, because then I can associate these two, B into A into C, because associative law is true. I can associate, if it is B into AC is same as BA into C, because matrix multiplication is associative. Again, what is BA? B into A. B into A is I into this is C. Now again, I into C is what? Any matrix multiplied with the identity matrix. C is multiplied with I means I will get C. So finally we got B equal to C. We got B equal to C. We assumed that there are two inverses. And then we finally found that no, the two inverses are one and the same. Which means A can have only one inverse, which is B, or which is only C, whatever. Therefore, inverse of A is unique, which means A cannot have two different inverses or two inverses. Therefore, inverse of A is unique. So that is the end for this theorem, wherein we have proved that if a matrix A has an inverse, then that inverse is unique, which means A can have only one inverse. Fine. And the next theorem that we have is theorem 4. Next theorem that we have is theorem 4. So what it says is, if A and B are invertible matrices of same order, A and B are invertible matrices of same order, which means A has the inverse and B has the inverse. right? So what is given in this theorem is, A and B are two invertible matrices, which means both have the inverse, right? What we should prove? To prove of same order. When we have two invertible matrices of same order, right? So what we have to prove is, if you try to find the product of AB, and then if you try to find the whole inverse, AB whole inverse, that will be equal to B inverse A inverse. We have to show this. We have to prove this. We have to prove that AB whole inverse of AB is B inverse into A inverse. AB whole inverse is not equal to A inverse into B inverse. AB whole inverse is B inverse into A inverse. Right? So obviously B inverse into A inverse is not same as A inverse into B inverse, because matrix multiplication is not commutative. A into B matrix need not be equal to B into A. Right? So now the proof for this. So how do we prove this? The proof for this is, right? Now let's try to find the matrix. So now what is AB into AB whole inverse equal to what? It is called as identity matrix. Any matrix that is multiplied with this inverse will give you the identity matrix. If you have A into A inverse is always I, or B into B inverse is also I. A matrix multiplied with its inverse will give you the identity matrix. So you treat this AB as one matrix, AB and then AB inverse. So I am multiplying a matrix with its inverse. I should get identity matrix. Right? So this is true always. Right? AB into its inverse will give you I, which is the identity matrix. Now what we'll do is, we will try to slowly take this A and B to the other side and keep here only AB inverse, because we need AB inverse on the left hand side. The right hand side we need B inverse, A inverse. So what we'll do is, to eliminate this A from LHS, what we'll do is, we will pre-multiply both sides by A inverse. So we are going to multiply. What is the meaning of pre-multiply? Means we will multiply here. We will put the A inverse. If I put the A inverse here, then that is called as post-multiply. That's called as, so pre-multiplying means first I am going to put A inverse. I'm going to multiply with the A inverse on both sides, which means A inverse will first come. The pre-multiply means this is one matrix before this. That is called as pre. So I'm going to put A inverse here. So A inverse into AB the whole inverse equal to A inverse into I, because I'm multiplying, pre-multiplying. You see, in matrix multiplication, pre-multiply, post-multiply is very important, because of the same reason that matrix multiplication is not commutative. So putting A inverse here and then writing A inverse after I into A inverse means, if you write I into A inverse, that is called as post-multiplying. That is called as post-multiplying by A inverse. Since we are pre-multiplying, first we are multiplying by A inverse with I. So A inverse will come before I. So here also, for this entire matrix, A inverse will come on the left side. That is called as pre-inverse. If A inverse comes on the right side, here if I put A inverse and here if I put A inverse, that is called as post-multiplying by A inverse. Now we can associate this. So now this two I can take it. So I can write it as A inverse A, B, then this is AB inverse equal to A inverse into I will give you A inverse. Any matrix multiplied by the identity matrix will get by the same matrix, but A inverse into A is I. I told you, A into A inverse or A inverse into A, doesn't matter. A inverse into A is also I. Clear? Or even if you do B inverse into B, that is also I. So A inverse into A is I into B into AB whole inverse equal to A inverse. Now I into B is B into AB whole inverse equal to A inverse. Clear? Then we got this condition. Now again we need to eliminate this B, which means we have to pre-multiply both sides by B inverse. So again pre-multiplying both sides by B inverse, which means I should first put B inverse. So B inverse into B, then AB the whole inverse equal to B inverse A inverse. So I'm writing the B inverse here and here. You see this? So if these two gets cancelled, you'll get back this. So I'm multiplying both sides, not multiplying both sides, pre-multiplying. Because you have to first put B inverse, then write this. Then first put B inverse, then write A inverse. Post multiplying means this will be there into B inverse will come equal to A inverse into B inverse. That is called as post multiplying by B inverse on both sides. Now again, what is B inverse into B? That is I. Identity matrix into AB whole inverse equal to B inverse A inverse, and AB whole inverse into I. Any matrix multiplied by I, you will get back the same matrix. So this will be AB whole inverse, that is equal to B inverse A inverse. So we have proved that AB whole inverse equal to B inverse A inverse. And you have to be careful. Sometimes they may ask you to find AB whole inverse by giving A inverse and B inverse. Then you have to multiply B inverse with A inverse. B inverse A inverse will give you AB whole inverse. So AB whole inverse is B inverse A inverse. Right? B inverse A inverse. B inverse into A inverse. B inverse A inverse is multiplication. B inverse into A inverse. Fine. So this completes theorem 4. All of you can pause the video and take the notes. So I will stop the session here. You can watch my next session for the continuation of this, wherein we will try to find the inverse of the matrix using elementary row or column operations. Very important topic. Right. So please take the notes, and I will see you all in the next video. Please watch my next video for the continuation of this. Thank you for watching. See you all in the next video. Thank you.